Okay. Bessie Coleman, 1891 to 1925. People call her Brave Bessie. She was the first African-American woman pilot in the United States. And Brave Bessie had a dream. She wanted to start her own flying school where she could teach other black women to fly. In 1891, Bessie was born in a cabin in Texas. She was one of 13 children. When she was 9, her father left. While Mrs. Coleman worked as a housekeeper to support the family, Bessie looked after her 3 younger sisters. Whenever a library wagon came through town, Mrs. Coleman would borrow books. Then Bessie read them to the family. Bessie's mother could not read or write, but she wanted her children to be somebody. Bessie believed she got her strong will from her mother. After Bessie finished school, she washed and ironed clothes to make money for college. But with the money she earned, she could only go to college for a short time. In 1917, after the United States entered World War I, Bessie read several newspaper stories telling how airplanes were fighting in the air. She became interested in flying and wanted to become a pilot. At that time, only a few flying schools in the United States took women as students, and no school would admit an African American woman. Bessie used the money she had saved and also some she had borrowed to go to France for training. There she could study without a problem. When Bessie returned home in 1921, she wanted to open her flying school, but to start it, she again needed money. So she did stunt flying in air shows. She thrilled the crowds by making loops, spirals, and low dives in the air. Many times she was in danger. In one air show, the motor of her one-engine plane died just as she reached the top of a loop. The plane started to dive. Bessie had to turn the dive into a landing. Bringing the plane safely to the ground was not easy because it had no brakes. It just had to roll to a stop. But Bessie did it to the cheers of the crowd. Everyone thought it was part of the show. In 1925, Bessie showed that she was brave on the ground as well as in the air. She was giving an air show in Texas. In those days, Texas was segregated. But Bessie said that she would not give an air show unless blacks and whites could use the same gate to enter. Because the managers wanted Bessie to fly, they agreed to this. In the same year, she wrote to her sister that she almost had enough money to open her school. But a few months later, while on a test flight, Bessie's plane crashed. Both Bessie and her mechanic were killed. Okay. What a story. Did you understand? How much of the story did you understand? Did you like the story? How much did you like the story about brave Bessie? Okay. Let me ask you a few questions about the story. Number 1. Where did Bessie learn to fly? Where did Bessie learn to fly? Do you remember? She couldn't learn to fly in the USA, so where did she go? She went to France. She went to France. Number 2. Why was it so hard for Bessie to become a pilot? Why was it so hard for Bessie to become a pilot? Well, probably for 2 reasons, right? Because she was a woman and because she was African American, right? So she was a black woman, and most schools did not take women, and the schools in the United States did not take African Americans. So she went to France, right? What was Bessie Coleman's dream? What was Bessie Coleman's dream? This is number 3. What was Bessie Coleman's dream? Well, she wanted to go to college first, but then, after she learned how to fly, which was part of her dream, she wanted to open her own flying school. Yes, she wanted to open her own flying school. Very good. Number 4. When she was a child, what was Bessie's life like? When she was a child, what was Bessie's life like? What do you think? Was it an easy life? Well, she was born in a cabin in Texas, and she was one of 13 children, right? Remember, when she was 9, her father left, and her mother was working, and her mother could not read or write, right? But her mother wanted her children to be somebody, right? So they didn't have much money, right? Her father left when she was very young. She had 12 siblings. They didn't have much money. Number 5, last question. Today, how is flying different from what it was when Bessie was flying? What do you think? Number 5. Today, how is flying different from what it was when Bessie was flying? What do you think? How was flying different in Bessie's time than it is today? What do you think? Oh yeah, of course, flying schools cannot discriminate today. They cannot discriminate based on your race or whether you're male or female, right? Okay, that's very true. That's a big difference, a big important difference, right? Yeah. We're not so segregated today, at least legally, right? There's probably many other differences too, right? With the types of planes and the safety requirements and the safety laws. I am not a pilot, but I imagine it's quite different than it was 100 years ago.